After cooling from pandemic-era highs, the biotech sector is looking for its next big win. Weight loss drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic are grabbing headlines, but one biotech firm sees major potential in an older experimental heart disease drug. Now, CETP blockers were once all the hype for large drug makers, helping to increase good cholesterol in the body to treat heart disease. But they were discarded by the likes of Pfizer, Eli Lilly, and others when early trials failed to take off.
That's right. But biotech firm NewAmsterdam Pharma sees major potential. RBC Capital Markets agrees, saying this drug could succeed where others have failed, representing a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. They initiated coverage over at RBC Capital Markets as well on NewAmsterdam Pharma with an outperform rating and a $25 price target earlier this month, seeing potential in the firm's cholesterol drug. Joining us now, we've got Leonid Tomashev, who is the RBC Capital Markets biotechnology analyst. Take us into your thesis around this and why people's focus should be on NewAmsterdam Pharma, perhaps.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. A pleasure to be here. Love to walk you through NewAmsterdam. I think, as you mentioned, biotech's had a tough tape. But as far as biotech company goes, we think that NewAmsterdam is actually a pretty straightforward company to understand. So, as you mentioned, there were a number of CETP inhibitors in the past, many of which have failed. But we have a very good handle on why we think those failed. And we think that obicetrapib, which is NewAmsterdam's lead drug, is a best-in-class molecule. It's more potent, it has better pharmacological properties, and not only does it raise the good cholesterol, as we talked about, but it also reduces the bad cholesterol very meaningfully. And the drug has been in 6 phase II trials, all of which have shown 40 to 50% reductions in the bad cholesterol. Now, it's been tried as a monotherapy, it's been tried as a combination with statins, with other drugs. So it's really gone through the ringer of different trials that it can go through, and it's worked, and it's been very consistent. And one of the most well-understood correlations in medicine is that lowering the bad cholesterol decreases the rate of heart attack and strokes and negative cardiovascular outcomes. So we feel pretty confident that with this 40 to 50% reduction in the bad cholesterol, NewAmsterdam can succeed in a large phase III trial to show a reduction in negative cardiovascular outcomes. And that's going to be coming in the second half of 2026. And then just to touch on the unmet need here, I think you don't need a lot of introduction to know that heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. And in fact, it's the leading cause of death worldwide. Up to 50% of patients can't reach their target cholesterol even when they're on medicine. And so we think that obicetrapib, as a once daily, effective, and competitively priced pill, can reach over $1 billion in sales in the US and be a multi-billion-dollar drug worldwide.
I want to ask you, for this class of drugs, CETP inhibitors, what about it makes it a winner now, really, when you think about these other companies that have dropped it? Amgen originally had this drug, gave up on it. We listed a whole host of other companies that did. What is it about now in this moment and where it is in terms of the research and development?
Yeah. I think the field has advanced over the past 10 to 15 years, and we've really understood what happened to those prior drugs. So originally, the hypothesis with CETP inhibitors was that if you increase the good cholesterol, that should be enough to improve cardiovascular outcomes. Now, today, we're not quite sure that's correct. And so the first generation of CETP inhibitors, they were really focused on increasing the good cholesterol, and many of them didn't reduce the bad cholesterol quite as much as we'd like to see. So that drove at least one of the failures. Pfizer's drug had blood pressure issues. So blood pressure is another thing that correlates to negative cardiovascular outcomes. And so when their drug increased blood pressure, patients did badly. And then, the most interesting story is actually Merck's drug actually succeeded on its phase III trial. And it showed improvements in cardiovascular outcomes in addition to lowering the bad cholesterol. But the drug had a chemical issue where it would actually accumulate in the fat of people. And so you'd stop taking the drug, but you'd still have the drug in your system for 2 years. And that really wasn't acceptable for a commercial product. Now, obicetrapib doesn't have any of these issues. It's the most potent bad cholesterol lowering drug. Doesn't accumulate in fatty tissues. And so we think that this is really the one that's got the best shot of success here.
And then speaking of that success, is there the potential, in your view, for this to be that blockbuster drug moment like Lipitor was previously?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be hard and somewhat challenging to ever match what the statins were. Those were almost a first-in-class heart disease drug. But we definitely think that this can be a blockbuster. When they launch, they should have their cardiovascular outcome data in hand. That means that reimbursement will go faster. Physicians and patients will all know exactly what this drug can do. You can add it on top of your current medication. In certain populations, perhaps you can use it as monotherapy. So we think there's a lot of different ways to use it. It's a once daily oral pill. It'll be easy to take, and it'll potently reduce cholesterol. It won't be an injection like some of the other drugs on the market now. So we think it's got a profile that can really make it a multi-billion-dollar drug.
All right. So could this be NewAmsterdam Pharma's Lipitor moment? We shall see. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Leonid Tomashev, RBC Capital Markets biotechnology analyst.